Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about postpartum hemorrhage. You know the postpartum hemorrhage as one of the complications of third stage of labor. There are three stages of labor. Stage 1 is a cervical dilating stage. In this stage, cervix dilates completely. Stage 2 is expulsive stage. In this stage, expulsion of the fetus occurs. And stage 3 is placental stage. In this stage, placenta and the membranes are expelled out. So, postpartum hemorrhage is one of the complications of this third stage of labor. Now, what is postpartum hemorrhage? Post means after, partum means delivery. So, the hemorrhage that takes place after delivery is called postpartum hemorrhage. Exactly by definition, it is excessive hemorrhage from the genital tract at any time after the birth of the baby up to the end of puerperium. So, whenever the vaginal bleeding occurs after the birth of the baby, that means after the second stage of labor, but it may occur up to the end of puerperium. So, starting from the birth of the baby till the end of puerperium, at any time when the bleeding occurs per vagina, it is termed as postpartum hemorrhage. Now, how much is the blood loss? The blood loss is that much that it affects the general condition of a patient. It affects the general health of the patient. So, when the blood loss is more than 500 ml, it will damage the general health of the woman, and that is termed as postpartum hemorrhage. Now, the incidence of this condition, it is seen in about 1% among all hospital deliveries. Nowadays, the incidence of the PPH are decreasing. It is reducing because timely use of the anti-hemorrhagic drugs are wide nowadays. After delivery, the woman is given anti-hemorrhagic drug as a preventive method, and this will prevent the postpartum hemorrhage. Like in homeopathy, we give arnica 1 1 dose after delivery. Arnica is a very good preventive drug for postpartum hemorrhage. So, very wide use of anti-hemorrhagic drug in time, that is after delivery, has reduced the incidence of the postpartum hemorrhage. Now, the types of postpartum hemorrhage. There are two types of postpartum hemorrhage, primary and secondary. Primary postpartum hemorrhage means bleeding occurs within 24 hours after delivery. Mostly in primary BPH, the bleeding is occurring within 2 hours after delivery. That's why after labor, for the first 2 hours, the woman should be supervised very carefully, because in these 2 hours, it is very likely that PPH will start, right? So, primary BPH mostly occurs within first 24 hours, but very common in first 2 hours after delivery. There are two types of primary BPH, third stage hemorrhage and true postpartum hemorrhage. Third stage hemorrhage, bleeding starts before the expulsion of the placenta. In true postpartum hemorrhage, bleeding starts after the expulsion of the placenta but occurs within 24 hours after the delivery. That is primary postpartum hemorrhage. Secondary hemorrhage, bleeding occurs after 24 hours of delivery, but it may occur up to end of the puerperium. So, these are two types of PPH, primary, secondary. Primary BPH again of two types, third stage hemorrhage and true postpartum hemorrhage. Now we come to the etiology of PPH. Very important and very common cause of the PPH is atony of uterus. Atony means inactivity of uterus. Sometimes during labor, uterus becomes inactive, and this will lead to the postpartum hemorrhage. Postpartum hemorrhage does not occur as long as the placenta remains unseparated. As long as placenta is still attached to uterine wall, PPH will not occur. So, it occurs only after separation of the placenta. Now, normally what happens after the birth of the fetus? Placenta separates from uterine wall. When placenta separates, uterine sinuses get open, and from these open sinuses, bleeding will start. Now, after birth of the fetus, usually uterine contractions continue. These are contractions and retraction. So, due to regular contractions and retractions of the uterus, the open uterine sinuses get closed, and so the bleeding also stops. It will not continue, so PPH will not occur. But whenever there is atony of uterus, what happens? After birth of the fetus, uterus becomes inactive. So uterine contractions and retractions either stop or they become very weak. So after separation of the placenta, when uterine sinuses get open, due to imperfect uterine contractions and retraction, the open sinuses will not close. They remain open. So the bleeding continues and PPH will result. Right? Now what causes atonicity of uterus? Prolonged labor. Sometimes labor lasts for longer time than the usual expected time. So after birth of the fetus, uterus exhausted and uterus stops contracting. So atony of uterus resulting into postpartum hemorrhage. Second condition is grand multipara. Grand multipara is a woman who has already 4 or 5 children. She becomes pregnant off and on. Before she recovers from the previous pregnancy, she again becomes pregnant. So the malnutrition, anemia, these are very common in the grand multipara women, and these are likely to cause postpartum hemorrhage. Then past history of postpartum hemorrhage. The woman is second or third gravida. Whenever she was pregnant earlier, she had postpartum hemorrhage after the delivery. With such history, the woman is more likely to get PPH after the existing pregnancy also. Next is partial or complete retention of the placenta. Whenever the placenta is partially or completely retained, there is partial separation of the placenta. Because of that, from the partially separated placenta, from the open sinuses, bleeding continues, and this will result into postpartum hemorrhage. Over distension of the uterus. Uterus becomes over distended in multiple pregnancy, in the hydramnios, or when the fetus is larger in the size. So in such cases, placental surface is larger, placenta is attached to more surface of uterine wall, so more sinuses get open when the placenta separates, and so the bleeding becomes profuse. Mismanaged third stage of labor. Normally when you are managing a case of labor, it is a rule that you have to adopt the wait and watch policy. Sometimes after the birth of the fetus, unnecessary efforts are done to remove the placenta. You can do the effort to remove the placenta only after placenta separates. But sometimes, even though placenta is still attached to uterine wall, umbilical cord is pulled down to expel the placenta. So that is the mismanagement of the third stage of labor or rough handling of the case of the labor. So this will result into postpartum hemorrhage. When the attached placenta is pulled down, efforts are done to remove the attached placenta. Many sinuses get open, this opening is uneven, irregular, and this will result into postpartum hemorrhage. History of APH. The women who have developed APH in their pregnancy, they are more likely to get PPH after the delivery. If you go through the antepartum hemorrhage, one of the complications of antepartum hemorrhage is postpartum hemorrhage. Further in this, uterine fibroid. Uterine fibroid mechanically imperfects the uterine contraction. So due to this mechanical impairment, the resulting PPH will be there. Malformation of the uterus. There are many types of the malformations, but here we are mainly concerned with the septate uterus. Sometimes when the woman is having septate uterus, when she conceives, implantation of placenta does not occur on the upper uterine wall. It occurs on the septum of the uterus, and this will result into PPH due to the abnormal site of the placental implantation. Bleeding diathesis. When the woman is having bleeding disorders or coagulation failure, when the bleeding continues, blood won't clot. Such women are more likely to get postpartum hemorrhage. Hypertension in pregnancy. Either this hypertension is pregnancy induced, that we say commonly toxemia of pregnancy, or it is chronic hypertension. The woman is hypertensive since before pregnancy. So whenever she has hypertension during pregnancy, she is more likely to get postpartum hemorrhage. And one more important cause is initiation of labor by oxytocin. When the labor is induced by oxytocin, oxytocin improves uterine contractions, but oxytocin also causes post-delivery uterine atonicity. Oxytocin corrects the uterine contractions but without improving uterine retraction. So this imbalance between the contraction and retraction of the uterus occurs due to the use of the oxytocin, and this may lead to atonicity. So these are various occasions, various conditions where uterus becomes atonic, and this will lead to postpartum hemorrhage most commonly. Another cause of PPH is trauma. Sometimes during labor, trauma may occur to the vestibule, to the vagina, to the cervix, or to the perineum. Now, as the trauma, there will occur laceration, tear. So, due to these lacerations or the tear from the torn areas, the bleeding continues, and that is considered as the postpartum hemorrhage. The third cause is mixed. Mixed means sometimes both atonia of uterus and trauma contribute in postpartum hemorrhage. That is the mixed cause of the PPH. Now diagnosis. How the condition can be diagnosed. There is revealed vaginal bleeding. Revealed means visible. There is vaginal bleeding. It may be copious, it may be slow oozing, or it may be intermittent gushes. So this is the nature of the vaginal bleeding. Then you will find general signs of the hemorrhage. That is, due to the severe blood loss, the woman will have the signs of the hemorrhage. Sometimes due to the blood loss, the woman can go into shock. So you will find certain signs which are in favor of the excessive hemorrhage, like increased pulse rate. The woman will have tachycardia, pallor, paleness of the skin, falling blood pressure, hypotension will be there, cold and clammy skin. The woman becomes restless. The woman also sometimes develops air hunger. That is, these are all the general signs of the hemorrhage which help in diagnosis of the postpartum hemorrhage. Then certain per abdominal examination findings. On per abdomen examination, you will find that uterus is felt soft. Uterus is felt soft. It is due to vaginal bleeding. When the vaginal bleeding is excessive, or when the vaginal bleeding is concealed type, you will find that the fundal height is at the higher level than the expected one. Then per vaginal examination. On per vaginal examination, you will find visible frank bleeding occurring per vagina. So these are all the features which help in diagnosis of postpartum hemorrhage. Now the complications of these conditions. Important complication is maternal mortality. Mortality means death of the woman. Sometimes following postpartum hemorrhage, the mother can die after delivery. In about 10% cases of maternal death, the cause is postpartum hemorrhage. Now the reason of maternal death due to postpartum hemorrhage. Important cause is malnutrition and the anemia. Like we talked in the causes of the postpartum hemorrhage, grand multipara. Otherwise also malnutrition is common among the Indian women. All the women are not taking nutritious food. The women are not health conscious. They don't understand the seriousness of taking the healthy food during pregnancy. So their severe malnutrition, chronic anemia will lead to maternal death. Right? Also, all pregnant women are not going for the antenatal checkup regularly. Suppose if during pregnancy only, during the antenatal checkup only, anemia is detected, treatment of anemia can be done during pregnancy, so you can minimize postpartum hemorrhage. the complications can be avoided. Also during labor, the required care of the woman is not done, right? Also there is lack of the blood transfusion facility. Everywhere in India, blood transfusion facilities are not there. So even though EPH or intrapartum hemorrhage develops, blood loss cannot be compensated. So such women are likely to get postpartum hemorrhage, right? So these are various reasons for maternal death due to the postpartum hemorrhage. There is also increased maternal morbidity due to shock, puerperal sepsis, anemia, thrombophlebitis and thrombosis. So these are various complications of postpartum hemorrhage. Now we come to the last part of postpartum hemorrhage, that is the management. Management depends on the type of the postpartum hemorrhage. We see first management of the primary BPH, that is management of the third stage bleeding. Third stage bleeding means hemorrhage occurs before the expulsion of the placenta. Placenta is still inside the uterine cavity. So how will you manage the case in these type of PPH? First, the aims of postpartum hemorrhage. The first aim is to stop further hemorrhage. The woman has continuous bleeding per vagina and our aim of treatment should be to stop this hemorrhage. It should not continue for a long time. And for that we have to empty the uterus, because the cause of the hemorrhage is the presence of the placenta in the uterine cavity. So we have to empty the uterus at the earliest. For that, first of all, we should try to restart uterine contractions. The contractions which have been dull after the expulsion of the fetus, it should be restarted. So contraction should occur again, and this will help in the emptying of the uterus. Also, if the blood loss is profuse, we have to replace the blood loss. We have to compensate the blood loss so the woman will feel better. Now, if the uterus is felt soft when the placenta is still attached to uterine wall. Uterus is felt hard after placental separation. So when the uterus is felt soft, anti-hemorrhagic drug should be given intravenously to control the hemorrhage. Then after, when you find the uterus hard, control cord traction should be done to remove the placenta. Traction means a pull. So after the placenta separates from uterine wall, umbilical cord should be gently pulled. This will remove the placenta from uterine cavity. So these should be done. If control cord traction fails, then placenta should be removed manually. Manual removal of placenta done if control cord traction fails. Besides this, if any trauma to the vestibule or cervix or vagina or perineum is present, it should be properly repaired. Its suturing should be done. Now, management of the true postpartum hemorrhage. True BPH means hemorrhage occurs after expulsion of the placenta, but before the or up to 24 hours after delivery, right? So how management is given? Aims of management for such type of PPH. First aim is to diagnose the cause of the bleeding. The cause may be atonicity of uterus, it may be the trauma. Whatever is the cause, we have to find out that cause and then we have to give the treatment accordingly, right? Another aim is to take the prompt and effective measures to control the bleeding. The bleeding should be controlled effectively, because if bleeding continues, the woman can go into death. Then to correct hypovolemia. This is the important aim of the management. Hypovolemia results due to the excessive blood loss. So blood loss should be compensated. Blood transfusion may be given if required. Now, why in the true PPH bleeding occurs? Here the placenta is already out. Expulsion has occurred, but the expulsion of placenta is not complete. Sometimes placenta is torn. Certain beads of the placenta may be inside the cavity, and these retained beads, present beads, have caused the bleeding. That's why whenever there is expulsion of the placenta should be examined very carefully. Placenta has got two surfaces, fetal surface and maternal surface. Both surfaces should be very carefully examined for the intactness of the placenta. because if placenta is torn, if some part of placenta is missing, that missing part of placenta, if left into the uterus, it will cause continuous postpartum hemorrhage. If bleeding is not continuous, there may be simple spotting. That is also abnormal. It should not be there. So, to remove that retained beads of the placenta, we have to restart uterine contractions, and for that, syntocinon drip should be started. So, another step of management is intravenous glucose syntocinon should be started. Then uterus should be rubbed to expel placental beads. Such rubbing of uterus will also help in removal of the placental beads, blood clots and membranes. After doing so, if bleeding per vagina persists, uterus should be explored under general anesthesia. Explore means search. The cavity should be examined clearly to look for the presence of these retained material. Even after these efforts, bleeding continues. Bimanual compression of uterus should be done under general anesthesia. This compression of the uterus bimanual will also help in stopping the bleeding. It will help in controlling the hemorrhage. Further, if bleeding continues, tight intrauterine packing should be done. Packing should be done tightly in the uterine cavity. This is not advisable because if the packing is not sterile, if the procedure is not done under aseptic precautions, then uterine cavity may be infected. So, if possible, this procedure should be avoided, but if required, it should be done under totally aseptic precautions. Finally, if all these efforts fail, they fail to stop bleeding per vagina, hysterectomy should be done. And if the trauma is the cause, trauma should be properly repaired, its proper dressing should be done, again in the aseptic condition. Now the management of secondary postpartum hemorrhage. Secondary postpartum hemorrhage means bleeding is occurring after 24 hours of labor but within puerperum, before the end of puerperum. Right? Now how to manage this type? If hemorrhage is little, the woman is put to the bed rest. The woman is advised complete bed rest because bed rest will help in controlling the hemorrhage. She is given anti-hemorrhagic drug. Anti-infective therapy is given if you find any septic condition present along with the secondary postpartum hemorrhage. Like puerperal sepsis may be there. So if any septic condition is present, because here the bleeding is occurring 24 hours after the delivery and up to the puerperum, the woman may be having mastitis, suppurative mastitis, suppurative infection may be there. So if you find any infection, the woman is started anti-infective therapy. In severe hemorrhage, uterus should be explored by 2 fingers. There should be manual exploring of the placenta. If possible, for this process you can use blunt curette also, and this is to find out any retained beads of the placenta. If you find any such retained bead of placenta, it should be removed. Again, anti-hemorrhagic drug should be given, and to compensate the blood loss, intravenous blood transfusion should be given. Now, after exploring the uterus or after doing any effort, if you find any retained beads of the placenta, if you remove any such material, it should be examined histologically. So it should be sent for histopathological examination to exclude choriocarcinoma. Choriocarcinoma is very rare. Still, you should not skip this possibility. You have to examine those samples histopathologically to find out the choriocarcinoma. So this was about the management of the postpartum hemorrhage. Now prevention. Prevention is always better than cure. So we can prevent postpartum hemorrhage by doing certain efforts, by doing certain careful steps like improvement of the health status by careful antenatal care. We have to encourage the antenatal care. If the pregnant woman goes for the regular antenatal examination, then and then only her anemia can be corrected, malnutrition can be corrected, because these are very important cause of the postpartum hemorrhage. So her overall health status can be improved through regular antenatal care. High risk patients identified. The women who are more likely to get PPH, they are called high risk patients. So they should be identified like grand multipara woman, the woman who has history of APH in the previous pregnancy, even APH in the existing pregnancy, past history of the postpartum hemorrhage, malnutrition, anemia. These are the high risk patients. So they are more likely to get PPH. They should be identified. The cause should be known. Its treatment should be given in time. This is all to prevent the postpartum hemorrhage. If required during labor, analgesics and sedatives should be given. Local anesthesia should be preferred. During labor, any process should not be done without anesthesia. Local anesthesia should be preferred. There should be active management of third stage of labor. The labor should be managed very actively. There should be no mismanagement of third stage of labor, no unnecessary hurry. Patience is must to tackle the case of the labor. Then placenta and the membranes should be examined carefully after their expulsion. Like I told you, placenta has got two surfaces, fetal surface and maternal surface. So these should be examined very carefully after placenta is out. If you find any placental bead is missing, placenta is torn, immediately look for those retained beads, torn beads of placenta inside the uterus. Arrange for their expulsion at the earliest, evacuate the uterus at the earliest, because even a small bead of placenta in the cavity also leads to postpartum hemorrhage. So that missing part should be removed from cavity at the earliest. Patient should be observed for 2 hours after delivery. Like we discussed the types of the postpartum hemorrhage. Primary postpartum hemorrhage. Primary means mostly PPH is occurring within 24 hours after labor, but sometimes or in majority of the cases bleeding occurs within first 2 hours of delivery. That's why after delivery the woman should be carefully supervised at least for 2 hours. Prophylactic anti-hemorrhagic medicine should be given intravenously. In homeopathy, we give arnica 1 mg 1 dose to every patient after delivery, because arnica is a very good preventive drug for PPH. You may have studied arnica in the first or second year class. Sometimes in your exam also you are asked postpartum use of the arnica. So what would you write? You should not start your writing with sore limb bluish feeling, right? You should write according to your third year level. If you use arnica postpartum, what is its action? First is arnica is anti-hemorrhagic, so it will prevent bleeding, it will prevent postpartum hemorrhage. Arnica is anti-suppurative, so it will prevent infection, prevent the pus formation. Suppose if the pus formation or the infection occurs in the episiotomy wound or in the cesarean section wound, then arnica will correct that infection, that suppuration or the pus formation. Arnica is also acting as analgesic, so it will also relieve the pain of labor, or you can say the pain of this stitching of the wounds. Arnica is also anti-inflammatory, so it will prevent the inflammation. Inflammation occurs after the or surrounding the traumatic area, so arnica also relieve that inflammation. And arnica also reabsorbs the extravasated blood, so will not allow the blood to clot easily. So this is the action of arnica, and that's why we have to give it post-operatively. So that was all about postpartum hemorrhage. This was the prevention of postpartum hemorrhage. I hope you liked the topic, you understood the topic very well. We'll talk about some other topic next time. Thank you.